Welcome to this week's video, and this week we are looking at El Greco's Saint John the Baptist from around 1600 and is kept at the De Young Museum in San Francisco, and they purchased this painting in 1946. So 4 things you should know about this painting. Number 1, so who was El Greco? El Greco literally means the Greek in Italian, and he was born in Crete, then a possession of the Venetian Republic, and he was born in 1541 and died in 1614. So he was basically roughly 60 years old when he painted this painting. So El Greco left Crete at an unknown date to join Venice and the workshop of Greek craftsmen. So Venice at that time was heaving in the late 16th century with Greek craftsmen who were working there. And it's there in Venice that he developed his unique, intense and colourful manneristic style, and where he actually grew to be one of the best known foreign artists of his period. And his contemporaries saw and called his work as being deranged. So even at the time, his work did already have a great impact, and probably because of sort of the dynamic sense of rhythm, the spectacular dramatic skies, and also that kind of sort of like almost acid-like color palette that's very unique to him. Second point to make is that this is a typical work for El Greco's groundbreaking style, which consists of rhythm. The colors are almost acid-like, very unusual color palette, which is typical for his style, and especially around 1600 when his style was very much matured. And that use of color is no longer confined to depicting reality. And as such, it's interesting to note that a recent book called El Greco the prophet of modernism, and there's a lot of truth in that, because you could already see in the color palette here that it is actually very contemporary way and a very contemporary style of painting. So the figure of Saint John. So the evangelist considered John the Baptist as the last in the line of the prophets, and as such he announces and precedes the coming Messiah, and is therefore known as the precursor. And looking at the figure here in this painting of Saint John the Baptist, Saint John turns his head away from the lamb, so towards which he points in a poignant gesture, and then the lamb itself is placed on a rock as a reference to Christ's sacrifice. And what else do we see in this painting apart from sort of the dramatic sky typical for El Greco? Is a building in the background which has been identified by some art historians as potentially being the Escorial. And furthermore, the figure of Saint John the Baptist is really sort of depicted here as a desert anchorite. So he's dressed in raw camel hair tunic, he stands, he's sort of like quite thin as well. And that is basically sort of referring to the point that as he would have been expecting the birth and the coming of Jesus, that there had to be repentance in anticipation of Christ's birth. So in conclusion, we're just showing a few other paintings that El Greco did of the similar subject, so Saint John the Baptist. And I have to say that in my view that the Young Museum version, which is the one we discussed here, is actually the finest one, because he's standing there on his own, very sort of like very skinny figure, and quite fragile therefore, with the agitated movement of the sky, and then also the scintillating light on the landscape. So thank you very much for watching this video, and we look forward to showing you next week's video. And don't forget to visit our website christianart.today. Thank you.